So greetings of the day and welcome to the session all of you. So already we finished corporate level strategies. Then after corporate level strategies we should focus on business level strategies, because our strategy should be integrated. Our strategy should have plans both for corporate level, business level and functional level. Then only we can make a full-fledged holistic strategy. So now let us concentrate on business level strategies. Okay, and in this business level strategies we will study about the generic strategies that are given by Michael Porter. Michael Porter says that at the business level you can have three kinds of generic strategies, that is cost leadership, differentiation or focus. So depending on the situation you can have any kind of strategy of your choice. Okay, and see, these business level strategies are very important because corporate level strategies concentrate on what you should do as a company. What should be your approach? But corporate level strategies do not talk about competition. See, all the time how we should think? We should think about ourselves. Ourselves means what we should do. That is corporate level strategies. And while following those corporate level strategies, you should also focus on competition, because there is competition everywhere in business. So without paying attention to competition, how can you make strategies, or how can your strategies be holistic? See, always we want a holistic approach, a complete approach, a comprehensive approach. That is why we say strategy is an integrated and comprehensive plan. So it is not just enough if you have corporate level strategies. Corporate level strategies just tell you regarding your entire corporation, regarding your entire organization, what you want to do, in which business you want stability, in which business you want growth, in which business you want retrenchment. But for example, if you want to stabilize some business, but stabilizing a business involves looking at the competition. There is competition everywhere. Whether you follow stability strategy or whether you follow expansion strategy or whether you follow retrenchment strategy, there is competition. There is competition everywhere. So you have to think about that competition. That means stability strategy along with business level strategy. Expansion strategy along with business level strategy, that is required. Corporate level strategies tells your approach, your direction. But while you are moving forward, how will you deal with the competition? That is the biggest question you need to answer. Okay, you told, sir, we are following stability strategy. Okay, very good. You want to stabilize your business. That is your personal opinion about your business. You want to stabilize your business. But what to do with the competition? What is your attitude towards the competition? What is your approach towards the competition? Say, I want to be stable. Okay, that's right. That's fine. I want to be stable. But when I can be stable? I can be stable only when I deal with the competition. There is competition everywhere. In and around there is competition. So you need to have competitive level strategies or business level strategies. So corporate level strategies tells the overall approach. But it will not, corporate level strategies do not tell you how to face the competition. So it is business level strategies which tells you how to face the competition. So that is the most important thing you need to understand. Okay, right. So before starting to learn about the business level strategies, first you need to study about the Michael Porter's 5 forces model of competition analysis. That is a very important thing. See, generally we know what is competition. What is competition? The other person, yourself and the other person are in the same line of business, trying to grab the same resources, markets and customers. Then both of you are said to be competitors. When two people are in the same line of business, trying to grab or run behind the same market, same resources, and same customers, then they are said to be competitors. So another name for competitor can be rivals. So everyone knows what is competition. Everyone knows what is competition. There is nothing great in that. There will be competition everywhere in the business, no? There will be existing rivalry. Existing rivalry will be there everywhere. Okay. But the point is, many people just think that existing rivalry is only the competition. But the great thinker, Michael Porter, he is telling us that we will have competition-like things or competitive pressures. He used the word competitive pressures. So you will have competitive pressures not only from the existing rivalry, okay, not only from the existing rivalry, you will have competitive pressures from other areas also. That means there are 5 major things which create a pressure on your business. Which create a pressure on your business. And these 5 areas can be called as competitive pressures. And among those competitive pressures, everyone knows about existing rivalry. That is what I am telling you. Michael Porter need not tell us about the existing rivalry. Everyone knows that. In my business, I know that there is existing rivalry. Michael Porter need not tell me. Look about your competitors. But what value addition Michael Porter is giving us? What additional information Michael Porter is giving us? He is telling us that in addition to existing rivalry, there are 4 other major areas that you need to focus, because these 4 things will create lot of pressure on you along with existing rivalry. This is a very beautiful concept and it is a world famous concept. And you know, many thinkers on management, they tried to add one more pressure, but they couldn't. Okay, they could not do that because Michael Porter has thought in a very deep manner. He has researched a lot and he has given these 5 pressures. Now, if you understand these 5 competitive pressures in the market or in your business, then you can have a better strategy. Or to put it in another way, you should have a business level strategy in such a way that can address all these 5 problems. Now, what Michael Porter tells? Michael Porter tells 3 business level strategies. What are they? Cost leadership is the first strategy, what he says. Now, if you follow cost leadership strategy as told by Michael Porter, now you can handle these 5 things. Okay. Next, he tells differentiation strategy. Even if you follow differentiation strategy, you can handle these 5 things. Another, focus strategy. Now, if you follow the focus strategy, again you can handle these 5 things. That is the beauty of this theory. That is the beauty of this concept. That means, initially what Michael Porter told? Michael Porter told 5 competitive pressures that put a lot of pressure on your business, that gives a lot of influence on your business. First he identified. Okay. First he identified 5 competitive pressures. Okay. Competitive pressures. That means first he diagnosed the problem. First he diagnosed the problem. We have 5 competitive pressures. Now in business, you have to tackle or you have to handle these 5 competitive pressures. Now, how should be your business level strategy? Your business level strategy, whether it is cost leadership or differentiation or focus, how these strategies should be? These strategies should be handling these 5 competitive pressures. Because until and unless you deal with these 5 competitive pressures, you cannot do your business. That means your strategy should handle those 5 pressures. That is the beauty of this theory. So that is why before learning about the business level strategies, first we are learning about the 5 competitive pressures. Because without understanding the problem, how can you understand the solution? So first you need to understand the problem. What is the problem in our business? Competition. And what kind of competition? Already we know one competition, that is existing rivalry. But Michael Porter is adding 4 more things to that competitive pressures. And total 5 competitive pressures are there. Now, your strategy should be in such a way that your strategy should address, should handle all these 5 competitive pressures. That is the beauty of the theory here. Okay, it is a very incredible, a very fantastic theory proposed by Michael Porter. Okay, now let us see that. First one, explain Michael Porter's 5 forces model of competition analysis. It is a powerful and widely used tool for systematically diagnosing the principal competitive pressures in a market and assessing their strength and importance. See, the greatness of Michael Porter lies in identifying. See, the most important thing in business or in any part of life is identification. Okay, identification is the most important thing. You should identify that this is the problem. Then you need to study it, analyze it, and you need to make a solution. So the first thing is identification. So Michael Porter identified that there are 5 types of pressures, 5 types of dynamics, 5 types of influences on your business. And all these 5 things will give you a kind of competitive pressure. Okay, means they'll try to reduce your competitiveness. They'll try to reduce your competitiveness. And if we lose our competitiveness, what happens? We cannot get the competitive advantage, because we are all trying to get the competitive advantage, isn't it? Whatever you do in business, you should always look for competitive advantage. And when can you get competitive advantage? Once you are competitive. Okay. Now, if you want to be competitive, what should be done? You should analyze what things are pulling you back and what things may pressurize you. Okay. So, that Michael Porter identified. There are 5 pressures. Now, you have to address these 5 pressures. You have to solve the problem of those 5 pressures. Then only you become competitive. Then only you can achieve competitive advantage. In a nutshell, this is the concept. In a nutshell. In simple terms, this is the concept. Okay? Right. The model states that the state of competition in an industry is the combination of competitive pressures operating in 5 areas of the overall market. Very beautiful line. That is the greatness of Michael Porter. What he is telling? You are getting competitive pressure. Okay, you are getting competitive pressure from 5 different areas. All of them are giving you pressure on your business. Now, you need to think about a strategy which can relieve you from all the 5 pressures, from all the 5 tensions, from all the 5 headaches. Okay, that is what the beauty of Michael Porter's competition analysis. Now, the 5 forces are, see, this is all, strategic management is all about thinking, how you should think. So, by reading the strategic management, by learning the strategic management concepts, you should improve your thinking capabilities. Okay, right. Now, what are the 5 forces? That is why, see how he named 5 forces. These are forces. They force you. These are the dynamics. They change your approach. So, these are the forces. What is the first force? Threat of new entrants. Threat of new entrants. See, if a new entrant comes into your business, definitely he is a competition to you or not? Yes. And if that new entrant is a very aggressive entrant and a very big entrant who enters with a lot of capacity, who enters with a lot of research, then there will be more competitive pressure on you. That means the bigger the new entrant, the more sophisticated the new entrant, the more aggressive the new entrant, the more creative the new entrant, okay, there will be much pressure on your business. That is what we have seen in telecom sector in India with the entry of Jio. And that is now what we are visualizing in India with JioMart.com and Tata Click entry into the retail market. Now Tatas are buying Big Basket, some share in Big Basket also. They are in talks. So, see, once Tata enters into the segment or once Reliance enters into the segment, they are not small players. They are not little entrants. They are very big entrants. Whatever they do it very aggressively. They do it in a grand way. So that will be a biggest problem to the existing players like Amazon and Flipkart and Snapdeal. That will be a big problem to them because the new entrant is not a small person. He is a very big person, very aggressively they'll do marketing and all, and they'll try to grab the market share. So now how to handle with them? Okay. See, threat of new entrants. A firm's profitability will be higher when the new firms are blocked from entering the industry. That means you should, in order to neutralize the threat of new entrants, what you should do? You should block the new firms from entering into the industry. Because these new firms who wants to enter into the industry will always look for ways. Will always look for ways where we can find some niche or where we can find some area. Let us enter into that. So, now what you have to do? You have to close all the ways for the new entrants. See, that is why doing business is an art. Okay, you have to think carefully. So, you have to close all the ways for the new entrants. You have to block all the ways for the new entrants. Okay, and new entrants can reduce industry profitability by adding new production capacity leading to increased supply of the product at a lower price, which can reduce the firm's existing market share. Definitely, if a new entrant comes, what happens? Your market share reduces. Your market share comes down. See, entrants, producers will increase, but not the market. Market will be the same. So, if a new entrant comes, again he'll take share from you only. He cannot create a new share. He cannot create a new market. Okay. Now, so sir, now what should be done to oppose them, or in order to stop them, what should be done? That means you have to create some entry barriers. Barriers means some hurdles or some thing you have to create to stop them from coming into your business. How can you do that? Will you go and tell them don't come? Will they listen to you? No. Then what you have to do? You have to create some entry barriers. What are those entry barriers? First one, capital requirements. See, generally people don't enter into iron and steel business, cement business, because they require lot of capital. So, if the capital of your business, if the capital requirement of your business is very high, that itself acts as a barrier, because many people don't try to come into your business because of requirement of heavy capital. So, that is a guard to you. That is a guard. Heavy capital requirement is a guard to you, that protects you and your business from new entrants. And second one, economies of scale. If you have lot of economies of scale, if you are having good experience curve effect, and if you are getting lot of economies of scale, then automatically the new entrant will observe, okay, this existing people are having economies of scale, and if we want to compete with them, we also should get that economies of scale, and it is not possible to get economies of scale to us. So let us not enter into that business. In that way, the new entrants will think. Okay, so that is another entry barrier. And third one, product differentiation. That means, if you offer differentiated products to the customers already, then it becomes difficult for the new entrants. It becomes difficult for the new entrants to offer new differentiation. That means, if already you are offering differentiated products in all the segments, and if you don't leave anything, if you don't leave anything for the new players, then that also acts as a what? That also acts as a entry barrier. And now switching costs. You have to create switching costs to your customers. You have to create switching costs to your customers. That means, if your customers want to leave your product or leave your company and want to try the new product or the new company, then you have to create some switching costs. Switch means move. That means the customer is thinking to move away from your product to try a new product. Now you have to create some switching costs. See, companies like Microsoft in IT, Airtel in telecom, they create some switching costs. That means if customer wants to go to a new network, Airtel will tell some rules and regulations so that you cannot immediately go to a new network. So those rules and regulations will come under switching costs. Likewise, if a user wants to leave Windows operating system and if he wants to try another operating system, then Microsoft will have some conditions. Okay, so these conditions will act as switching costs. So now the customer may think, if I want to leave this company, or if I want to leave this product, or if I want to leave this service, I have to spend some money, or I have to make some efforts. So that will discourage the customers from trying the new products. So that is one strategy that acts as a barrier. And if you maintain good brand identity in the market, if there is a lot of brand equity to you in the market, okay, and if people like your brand very much, if you have brand equity and brand identity, then your brand identity and equity will help you to maintain your market share. Even though new entrants come into the market. That is another important point. And if you select all the distribution channels, different channels of distributing your product into the market, then that becomes tough for the new entrants to enter into the market. See, that is why companies like Unilever, they use all the distribution channels. They make personal selling, they make mass media advertising, okay, they go for catalog selling, they sell online, they sell offline. They use all the possible distribution channels because they don't want to make any stone unturned. They want to make use of everything. They want to turn everything because they don't want to give space to new people. But still, companies like Patanjali, they entered with a different marketing strategy. Okay, next. Possibility of aggressive retaliation. That means if you are in a position to retaliate the new seller or the new entrant, that by reducing your prices, by increasing the quality of your goods, by offering more services, then also it acts as a barrier to the new entrant. So you have to take care of all these things. That is, whenever you are doing business, don't think that doing business is a simple act of buying and selling. No. You have to keep in mind all these things to restrict the new entrants from entering into the market and taking your market share. You should not allow them. So, in order to stop them, in order to restrict them, you have to create the barriers. You have to create the barriers. So, these are the different barriers that you can create. Okay. And now the second competitive pressure, what Michael Porter tells is the bargaining power of customers. See, especially in business to business, when the customers buy bulkily from you, like, MRF company sells tires to Maruti. Now, the Maruti is the biggest customer to MRF. And now, Maruti also knows that they are the biggest buyers of tires from MRF. Now, Maruti will bargain for lower prices. Maruti will bargain for lower prices. And if you sell them at lower prices, what happens? Your profit margins decrease. That means Michael Porter concentrated on your profit margins. What are the different possible ways that will decrease your profit margins? So, threat of new entrants will decrease your profit margins. That's why he considered it as competitive pressure number 1. And if the bargaining power of customers is very high, you cannot deny those customers, no? See, MRF cannot say that I will not supply to you, to Maruti, because Maruti is the biggest buyer from you. So, how can you forego that customer? See, once there is a big customer to you, and if that customer is asking at lower prices, and if he buys bulkily from you, then how can you deny that customer? How can you forego that customer? How can you leave that customer? You cannot leave, no? Because if you leave the customer, you will get total loss. But that customer is bargaining for lower prices. Then definitely that is a competitive pressure. Okay, that is definitely a competitive pressure. Means that will reduce your profit margins. See how intelligently the theory is made, the model is made by Michael Porter. He has analyzed in what ways our profit margins will decrease. And all those ways he considered as forces of competitive pressure. Now, so if buyers, they form some cartels. Cartels means some illegal associations. For example, MRF may say, if Maruti don't buy from us, let us go to Ford or let us go to Mahindra. But if all of these people, if they form cartel, what happens? Wherever MRF goes, they ask the same price. Means these all buyers, they formed into a group and they all stand on a single word. Then that becomes more pressure. So definitely there will be no option left to MRF except to reduce the prices. Okay. Next, mostly this phenomenon is seen in industrial products. That is why I have chosen tires. Buyers of an industry products or services can sometimes exercise considerable pressure on existing firms to secure lower prices or better service. This actually happens, no? If you are a customer, you also think in that way. You also think in the same way. Always you want to get at lower prices so that you always bargain for lower prices. What is wrong in that? But it is a competitive pressure to the supplier. There is nothing wrong that if Maruti company asks for lower prices of tires. But it is a problem to MRF because the profit margins of MRF will come down. Next, buyers have full knowledge of the resources of products and their substitutes. They spend a lot of money on industry's products. The industry product is not perceived as critical. Buyers are more concentrated. See, at what times you will have this buyer bargaining power, customer bargaining power? When buyers know how much of profit margins you are getting, and when buyers know what raw materials you use, then buyers may ask for reduction of prices. And if buyer is a big buyer from you, if he buys in bulk from you, so definitely he will have a power to bargain. And whatever product you are supplying, if it is not very essential for the buyer, okay, for example, Maruti may take a decision, let us charge for tires extra. Let us not include tires in the car price. Then, and let us give option to the customers to choose the tires they want. Then what happens? Then you will lose your business. And buyers are more concentrated. That means buyers are forming a syndicate. They are on a single word. They are like a group. Then that also creates a problem. Next, bargaining power of suppliers. See, suppliers are very dangerous people. You need to be very careful because, see, it is vice versa. Buyers always bargain for lower prices and suppliers always bargain for higher prices. Because suppliers know, if they don't supply raw material, you cannot do your business. So they have their own point. They have their own logic. So that's why they'll try to put a lot of pressure on you. And if you pay the prices, if you pay the high prices to the suppliers, then what happens? Again, your profit margin comes down. That's why Michael Porter considered it as a competitive pressure again. Okay. So, suppliers can influence profitability of an industry in a number of ways. Suppliers can command bargaining power over a firm when suppliers' products are crucial to the buyer and substitutes are not available. This is a common logic. See, if I am a supplier to your company and if I know that I have to supply, otherwise you cannot get the raw material, and you have no alternatives, you have no other options, then automatically I will command higher price, then I will ask for higher price. And you are helpless, you cannot do anything. That is the logic here. Okay. And suppliers can create high switching costs. For example, if you say, I will not buy from you, I will buy from someone else, then they may put some rules and regulations, they may have their own unions, they may talk to other people, and they may stop other people from supplying to your company. These all things they'll do. They create some switching costs. And suppliers market is more concentrated than the buyer's market. That means if all the suppliers are on one word, if they form some cartel, or if they are available only in one place, in all these situations also, suppliers bargain for higher prices. Okay. Next, rivalry among existing firms. The intensity of rivalry in an industry is a significant determinant of industry attractiveness and profitability. Rivalry among competitors tend to cutthroat and industry profitability low. So what is the third one? This already we know, rivalry among existing firms. We have direct competition, we have indirect competition. So you have to tackle both of them. both the direct competition and indirect competition will reduce your profit margins. Okay. How? When an industry has no clear leader, competitors in the industry are numerous, competitors operate with high fixed costs, competitors face high exit barriers, competitors have little opportunity to differentiate their offerings, and the industry faces slow or diminished growth. That means, okay, there is a lot of rivalry among the existing firms. Now you want to come out, but sometimes you cannot come out of the industry. Why? Because already you have invested more into the business and it is not very easy to exit. You have exit barriers. See, we have both entry barriers and exit barriers. So you have a lot of exit barriers and your industry is declining. Okay, and fixed costs are rising. There are number of competitors. In all these situations, what happens? In all these situations, the competition will be very intense and your profit margins again come down. That means, in all these 5 points, Michael Porter concentrated on reduction of profit margins, okay, and threat of substitutes. See, in market, a close substitute may come to your product. A close substitute may come. Then you have to reduce your profit margins will reduce because people may buy those close substitute. Likewise, today we have wall mounted air coolers, which looks like air conditioners and which to the maximum extent possible works like an air conditioner. Then, and these wall mounted air coolers are sold at much lower prices than the air conditioners. Now, the air conditioner companies may find a threat from these wall mounted air cooler companies. Okay, so that is called as threat of substitutes. Now, what you have to do? Now, here some steps are given. I will tell you what are those steps. Now, you just make a table like this and you write all the forces here. What are the forces? Entry, new entrants, and bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, and threat of substitutes, and existing rivalry. You write all the 5 things like this and you make a table like this. Low, moderate, high. Like this you make a table, and fears. Now, sir, in my business, all these things are very high. Entry is very high, moderate, okay. Or rather than this, it is better we reverse it, okay. Like this. Low, moderate, high, fierce. Entrants, suppliers, bargaining power of customers, existing rivalry, substitutes. Now, if all are fierce, fierce means very strong, then you will have a different strategy. If 2 are low and 2 are moderate and 1 is very fierce, then you will have a different strategy. So now Michael Porter is telling you to make this kind of table so that you can easily understand the competitive scenario. Okay, so that is about Michael Porter's competition analysis. So already we have seen Michael Porter's 5 forces of competition analysis. Now in this session, let us see the Michael Porter's generic strategies. According to Michael Porter, generic or basic strategies allow organizations to gain competitive advantage from 3 different bases. See, already we know every company try to get competitive advantage in the market, and for that sake, strategic management is all about telling you how to get the competitive advantage in the market. So Michael Porter is telling you 3 different ways of getting competitive advantage in the market. What are they? You either follow cost leadership, or you follow differentiation, or you follow focus. Okay, so these are the 3 generic strategies that are proposed by Michael Porter to get competitive advantage. Means here one important word is used, different bases. That means either you can follow cost leadership model or differentiation model or focus model. So these are the three different bases which you can work out. And this can be pursued by any type or size of business firm or even by not-for-profit organizations. Okay. And now cost leadership. In cost leadership, what we will do? We will always emphasize on producing standardized product at very low per unit cost of production. Okay. That means the costs you will try to reduce. And in differentiation, we will try to produce unique products targeting price insensitive customers. And in focus strategy, we choose the market niche and accordingly we will work out. That we will see very clearly in the coming questions. Now, depending upon the factors such as the type of industry, size of firm and nature of competition, a company can select an appropriate option among the above generic strategic alternatives. That means you have to choose depending on the nature of your industry, the type of your industry, okay, and economic situations, market conditions. You have to select the best strategy that is appropriate to you. Michael Porter is telling you three different generic strategies, means they are commonly applicable. So what is applicable to you in your situation, in your company, that you have to select. Now, cost leadership strategy. See, what is this cost leadership strategy? Cost leadership strategy is about reducing the cost of production, achieving large scale production, and introducing standardized products into the market and targeting price sensitive customers. Because especially in countries like India, we have lot of price sensitive customers. So if you want to attract them and if you want to gain competitive advantage in the market, definitely a strategy like cost leadership is very much essential. Okay. Now let us study about this cost leadership strategy. It is a low cost competitive strategy that aims at broad mass market. Generally, the broad mass market in any country will be price sensitive people belonging to poor people or middle class or above middle class. So generally they are price sensitive. So if you want to target them, the best strategy for you is cost leadership. It requires vigorous pursuit of cost reduction in the areas of procurement, production, storage and distribution of product or services, and also economies in overhead costs. See, in cost leadership, you should always focus on reducing the costs wherever possible, whenever possible. Wherever possible means in terms of procurement, in terms of production, in terms of storage, in terms of distribution, you should always focus on reducing the costs. And you should always look at reducing the overhead costs also. And due to its lower cost, the cost leader is able to charge a lower price for its products than its competitors and still make more satisfactory profit. That is the greatness of Michael Porter. What he is telling you is how you can get competitive advantage. By following cost leadership strategy, you can underprice your competitors. You can offer products at a very cheaper price to the customer so that your competitor cannot provide at that price. Then automatically you will have an edge over your competitor. You will have an advantage over your competitor because you are offering goods at very lower prices. Because you have reduced your cost of production. So even by reducing the prices, even the profit margin reduces, still you can manage to get good profits. That is the strategy behind cost leadership. Okay. And for example, McDonald's fast food restaurant have successfully followed the cost leadership strategy. And this strategy is effective when the market is composed of many price sensitive buyers. This is reason number one why you have to choose the cost leadership strategy. And reason number two, when there are few ways to achieve product differentiation. See, sometimes in some areas, there will be no chance to differentiate the products. Then, at that time, what you will do? You should focus on cost reduction. Because you cannot differentiate. You cannot show any innovation in the product. So then you should focus on cost leadership. And when buyers do not care much about differences from brand to brand, and in generally when the customers are price sensitive and when the literacy levels of the customers are very low, then customers may not differentiate from brand to brand. So at that time they only look at the price. So at that time cost leadership is very much essential. And when there are a large number of buyers with significant bargaining power, means the buyers are putting a lot of pressure on you to reduce the prices. So what you will do, what you can do, you have to concentrate on reducing your costs so that you can give to the price what the customer is asking for, what the customer is bargaining for. Okay. Now, the basic objective of this strategy is to underprice the competitors, thereby gain market share and sales, driving some competitors out of the market entirely. See what happens if you underprice the competitors, competitor cannot sustain in the market because you are giving him a very big competition in price. You are offering at a dead cheap prices, very low prices in the market. Then the competitor may not sustain in the business. He may run out of the business. He may go out of the business. So that situation also arises. In a low cost leader company, there will be high efficiency. See, for example, if you want to have cost leadership strategy or if you want to follow cost leadership strategy, what is required? You need to work with higher efficiency. You need to always look for lower overhead costs. You need to give only limited perks to your executives, managers. Perks means what makes them happy, incentives. So if you give more perks or incentives, then your cost of production increases. So you should be focusing on giving them only limited perks and incentives. And intolerance of waste. See, companies like Bajaj, they follow this strategy. They all the time they focus on reducing the wastage so that you can gain a lot of advantage in cost of production. And intensive screening of budget requests. See, different departments send the budget requests so that you should not grant them. You have to thoroughly scrutinize them and then only you have to allocate the budgets. And wide span of control. See, if you want to reduce the cost of your production, you should always think to bring many things under your control. Means you should go for backward integration or you should go for forward integration. Somehow you should try to increase your control, your span of control, so that if many things are under your control, then you can definitely reduce your cost of production. On the other hand, for everything, if you depend on others, then automatically the cost of production will increase. And rewards linked to cost containment. See, whatever department is reducing the cost, give them some awards, give them some rewards, encourage them so that they'll participate more enthusiastically in the cost reduction efforts of the organization. And broad employee participation in cost control efforts, this is the most important thing. If the employees are not committed, if the employees do not understand the philosophy of the management, then you cannot achieve anything. So communicate to the employees the importance of cost reduction, the importance of cost leadership strategy in the market. And some risks of cost leadership strategy are competitors may imitate the strategy, thus reducing the overall industry profits. This always happens. See, whenever you follow some strategy, automatically the competitor also will try to mimic you, will also try to imitate you. So that threat will always be there. And the technological breakthrough in the industry may make the strategy ineffective. So you are making cost leadership strategy, but recently a new technology came into the market and your competitor is using that technology, and using that technology he could produce at a very cheaper prices, he could produce at a very lower cost than you, and he is offering at much cheaper prices than your product, then that becomes again a problem to you. And you have to go to that technology and you have to buy the technology again, which incurs a lot of cost to you. So these all things you have to check out. And this is the most serious problem. Buyer interest may shift to other differentiating features in addition to price. See, we have income law of demand. When the incomes of the people rises, they demand for more qualitative products. They look for features. Okay, so if that is the case, then what customers will do? Customers will look for better features in the products. And they'll go for that products and they don't bother about the price. If that kind of trend is there in the market, then your cost leadership strategy will not work. Right. How to achieve cost leadership strategy? So you have to make the proper demand forecasting for your product, and you should utilize the resources, money, materials, methods and machines in an optimum manner, and you should always try for achieving the economies of scale. Means you should go for large scale production so that your costs will come down, and standardization of products for mass production to yield low cost per unit. See, you have to standardize the product in the sense you have to make a standardized product and without any modifications or without any deviations or without any new improvements in it, and that you have to mass produce. Mass production is the logic in cost leadership strategy. Okay, and invest in cost saving technologies. Always look for cost saving technologies. How can I reduce the cost of my production? So concentrate on that and make some research on cost reduction technologies, and resistance to differentiation till it becomes necessary. That means, sir, how long can we follow this cost leadership strategy? The answer is till it becomes necessary. Till differentiation becomes necessary, you have to follow cost leadership strategy. That means to the point where differentiation is required, to that point you should follow cost leadership strategy only. Only when you strongly feel that differentiation is required, then only you should go for differentiation. Otherwise, you should follow cost leadership strategy only. Next, what are the advantages and disadvantages of cost leadership strategy? See, Michael Porter is a very intelligent economist and a strategy consultant, where he has devised all these strategies in such a way, whether you follow cost leadership strategy or differentiation strategy or focus strategy, or any of these three strategies you can follow, and all these strategies will address the competitive pressures. That means you can overcome the competitive pressures, what we studied in the first question: existing rivalries, the bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of customers, threat from substitutes. Okay, so these all things you can neutralize. Either you follow cost leadership strategy or differentiation strategy or focus strategy. That is the greatness of Michael Porter. Okay, now if you follow cost leadership strategy, what advantage do you get? You can neutralize all the competitive pressures that arises from existing rivalry, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of new entrants and threat of substitutes. How you can do that? See, existing rivalry, what happens? Competitors are likely to avoid a price war because you are already offering at a dead cheap price. You are offering at a rock bottom price, and competitors cannot offer at much lower price than that. So automatically you will not have problem with your rivals. And buyers, as the products are getting at rock bottom prices and where they cannot get much cheaper anywhere else, definitely they will come to you and they will buy your product. So there will be no bargaining from the buyers. See the intelligence of Michael Porter here. And the suppliers. See, suppliers will not bargain because you will be purchasing in large quantities, because mass production will be there, no? So you will be purchasing the raw materials in large quantities. So automatically they will get bulk orders from you, and they'll think if we bargain with him, we will lose this bulk order. So that's why they also stop bargaining with you. And new entrants, see, if a new entrant wants to come into the market, he always observes, can we offer at much cheaper price than that is already offered by the existing player. And if they strongly feel that they cannot offer at cheaper prices than the existing players, then they stop themselves from entering into the market. So in that way, the threat of new entrants problem is neutralized. And substitutes. See, even though the substitutes are there in the market, but if you are offering at very cheaper prices, following cost leadership strategy, automatically the customer will not think of substitute because the substitute is costly compared to your product. So automatically customer binds to your product. See, this is how the Michael Porter has made this strategies. That is why in the first question we studied the competitive pressures. Now we are studying different strategies to neutralize those competitive pressures and win competitive advantage in the market. And what is the disadvantage of cost leadership strategy? Cost advantage may not remain for long as competitors can copy, that we have already discussed. A firm can succeed with this strategy only if it can achieve higher sales volume. Yes, mass production and higher sales volume. These are the two requisites for cost leadership strategy. And cost leaders tend to keep their costs low by minimizing advertising, market research and development. But this approach is not suggested in the long run. Why? Because due to cost reduction efforts, if you don't make proper research, so it may become very tough for you to do business in the long run. Because the tastes and preferences of the customer changes, and accordingly you have to come with new product into the market, and for that you have to do a lot of research, but you are not doing any research because of cost considerations. So that may hamper your business, that may damage your business, that may create problem for your business in the future. And technology changes are greater threat to the cost leader firm, that I have already told you. If a new technology comes and if you want to acquire that technology, you have to spend a lot of money and acquire it. So again your cost will increase. Or the new technology may be used by your competitor and he may offer the goods at much cheaper prices. So these all things may happen.